And welcome back, folks, to the Michigan Basketball Insider. After hiatus, man, it is great to be back. Another season and a new coach, a new era underway, and the era of Dusty May, a guy that I met, boy, over 20 years ago.
Wow.
Over 20 years ago. I remember seeing Dusty when he was on Charles Ramsey's staff, and now here he is back in Ann Arbor, in Washtenaw County, coaching the University of Michigan. And I am great and glad and happy to be back with my man, Timmy Mack. Tim McCormick back here on the Michigan Basketball Insider. Tim, how you doing?
I'm good. I miss you, Sam. I
I miss
really
you too,
do. And I have to say real quick, man, I was at the Greg Harden Memorial, and as the MC, you're as good as I've seen. That was amazing. Kudos to you. Also, I owe you an apology. You know why?
Why is that?
Because last year I watched the first couple of practices for Michigan's team. I watched the exhibition game, and I said, Sam, I can't do this for a whole year. This team is going to be horrible. I'm bailing on you. And so we didn't do a podcast last year. But this year, I promise an exciting and entertaining season. This is going to be good.
Yeah, it was a tough year. It was a tough year last year. Knew that team was going to struggle and could see that it was going to be a year where there was going to have to be they're at a crossroads. A decision was going to have to be made. Do you press on or do you go in a different direction? And we talked about how that decision was going to be made. Ward Manuel was going to have to ask some very tough questions of Jawan, like what do you have to do to move forward? Is it is it a matter of making some key changes philosophically? Are you going to have to make some key changes strategically as far as how you procure talent in the portal, what you pursue in recruiting? Is it staff changes? I think Jawan's approach was, hey, I need some more NIL. I think it was really focused just on NIL. And while that was a key, Tim, you do need NIL support. I think what Ward wanted here, I'm giving you some educated speculation, is it was going to have to be much more than NIL. Enter Dusty May. And that was always, once he made the decision that he was going to go get a coach, this was always my number one candidate out there. And he went and got the number one candidate out there, which was Dusty.
Yeah, you shared a lot there, Sam. First of all, the roster was horrible last year. Once Doug McDaniel went out, there was no guards in the roster. You can call him Nimari Burnett whatever you want. He's not a guard. Like he's more of a wing than he is a guard, and he's a really good fit on this team. But more than anything, when I watched Juwan come off of his heart surgery, I mean, what a tough guy. I can't even imagine the fatigue and the pain and the uncertainty. But I also think that everybody on that team was looking at him like, "Are you going to fall over? Are you okay?" I think the staff was tense, and I saw Juwan this summer at the summer league in Las Vegas, and I gave him a big hug and I said, "I can't believe how good you look now. All of a sudden, like you got that look in your eye, and like the color, like his face looked good. He looked strong. He looked confident. He had that big smile." And I said, "You're back." And I think that if Juwan would have just taken last year off, everybody would have been better. But let's move forward.
Good
Um,
for
I promised an exciting year. I really believe that. I'm shocked at the speed that this roster construction took place. Dusty May has a really unique philosophy. His roster is loaded with talent. It looks a lot like a John Beeline coach team, but they also have a lot of elements of the modern day NBA, multi positional offense, long athletes, great length on defense, and I do think that this is going to be a really fun team to watch. Uh, Sam, I've watched 5 practices, including yesterday I went. I've seen both exhibition games. I watched Cleveland State. I know this team really well, and they're super long and athletic. They're deep. Their practices are almost all scrimmage with a lot of teaching in between. There's no walk it up the court with this team right here. I think that really is a smart way to play because players want to run. They want to play ball like they did growing up. Conditioning will not be a problem. They've got great post perimeter balance, and with Golden and Wolf and Cheddar, I think that those guys can play on the perimeter. One of the things that really was a detriment over the Juwan Howard era is that you always had a Hunter Dickinson, a Terrace Reed, a Brandon Johns, Musa Diabate, a big guy just plugged up the middle,
Mhm.
and you couldn't drive it. There was no space. This team will not have that problem. They're really good with their big men stepping out.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting though, because you do have a traditional sort of big man element in Vlad that can give you some of that look, but there's some more versatility with how they play it. He won't just be that guy that's parked in there. They're gonna get up and down. There's gonna be some more 94, a lot more 94 feet with how they play. And Tim, boy, oh boy, do they get after it defensively. That was gonna be a big question. And I know it's just one game, and we'll get in more into this as we get deeper into the show. But a team that's taken on the personality of its coach,
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
I really feel that in watching them so far in the very short time that Dusty May's been on campus.
Yeah, they're going to be very balanced. And one thing that I wanted to share with you that kind of caught me off guard. We talked about the roster construction. For as many players as they have, with really only Nimari Burnett and Will Cheddar playing major minutes last year, Dusty May did an A-plus job. And the first and most important key, he nailed it with his staff. I know that you're going to be talking to all of his coaches on the morning show throughout the year. And these guys are so young and active at practice yesterday. Drew Williamson and Akeem Miskdean and Justin Joyner and like Kyle Church was out there. These guys were in practice and they were in a shell drill and they're moving the ball, they're driving and kicking. I kept thinking about those tendons that once you hit 40 get really a little bit precarious, like his patella or their Achilles or their ACL. I was afraid somebody was going to go down, but it impressed me so much watching how the coaches were actually involved in the defensive drill. And I think that's going to be important. Why, as you mentioned, this team's going to be good on defense. If you're sweating with your players and the enthusiasm, and I think it's really going to translate. The coaches were hungry like the players. The decibels were like going into Ford Field, and so I think that if Michigan took their assistant coaches and there was sort of an NCAA tournament for coaches, Michigan's coaches can play, and I think that's a real key to their defensive success.
Yeah, so a couple of things. A team that takes on the personality of its coach, they want to run, and they're going to run on makes and misses. That was very clear. It's very for the moment that we saw him. So they're going to get up and down. He, we're going to shoot a lot of threes. He made that clear. He said threes count more than twos. It's a news flash, right? So we're going to get a lot of threes up, right? Positionless basketball. You said this is a concept that is not foreign across basketball, but John Beeline came in the door talking like that, right? So Danny Wolf is going to get a he's going to get a board and he's going to trigger the break. He's going to bring it up in transition, and guess what? Sometimes he might take it all the way. Sometimes he might be the guy who can break the team down, break a defense down off the dribble, and make a pass and create for others. This is going to be a team that might shoot in the first 10 seconds of the shot clock, and it's okay, right? That kind of offensive freedom and versatility, you're going to see that from this Dusty May team,
Yeah,
Tim.
there's a lot to like. I mean, a lot. And it's also really easy to recruit, aesthetically pleasing. I watch Michigan and I immediately think of the Golden State Warriors. That they're more pass and kick over maybe drive and create. I think there are 7 legit threats that can knock down threes on this Michigan team. Most college basketball teams have 1 or 2 real good playmakers. Michigan's got 5, maybe 6 guys that you just give them the ball and say, get out of the way. You do what you do. And that's going to be hard to handle. Last year, when Doug McDaniel went out, there was nobody. There were 0 playmakers. And I tell you, I like Nimari Burnett, but he's not a point guard. He's not a playmaker. And he's going to be so much better this year in a role that fits him. Let
Mhm.
him come off screens. Let him be the court spacer. Yesterday, Nimari Burnett was the best player on the floor for Michigan. He made deep shots. He's got a
Really?
quick release on his shot. I was really impressed.
Wow.
Um, the first 4 times I watched them practice, and this kind of caught me off guard. I knew you'd be excited. I kept looking at my roster saying, who's Kaysen's the freshman? Yeah, I mean he was the best player on the floor. But Nimari Burnett yesterday was dominant, and I do think that Burnett's going to be so good because of the spacing of the big guys. You're going to have a hard time covering 2 7-footers. Not many teams are built that way.
Yeah, I like him on this team because he's off the ball. I mean, I thought, hey, I like that he has the ability when if pressed into that duty, he can he can be a ball handler, but you don't want him to have to be a ball handler. And that was the role that he had to have on last year's team with Doug McDaniel out. And that's just not where you want to be. Yeah, I think it robs him of his best attributes. I mean, he can be a shooter, he can be a guy who can go to the glass, right, and do other things that are more his strengths. And so I like that ability on this team, Tim, to be off the ball and to accentuate those positives. And so that I guess I'm surprised that he was the best player on the floor, but I'm not surprised that he was able to shine that now that he's off the ball.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's their best player. I'm saying yesterday, if you didn't know anybody and you walked in, you'd say, "Who's Nimari Burnett? This guy, he's really good." And the other thing is that with the spacing that's created, he's going to get open shots. But I was surprised at how well he was on the offensive glass
Mhm.
because the defense is so spread out. Sam, I I'm gonna make a bold prediction. Michigan leads the Big Ten in 3-point shooting this year. They,
Wow.
they've
Wow.
got, they got a
Wow.
lot of weapons. They're going to spread the court and they're going to put it up with a lot
That's
of freedom. And then
that's
also
wow.
you post up your big guys. At some point, you've got to make a choice. Am I going to double Vlad Golden? And if I don't, he's going to score inside. After all of a sudden he's rolling and I send it a little bit of help, then all my perimeter guys are going to get better shots. So I think that they are made to be a really good 3-point shooting team.
So here's what I feel like we can bank on. I even though we didn't see it in game one, like I know we can bank on Vlad Golden. I know we can bank on Roddy Gayle. I feel like they're going to be a dynamic two-man game combination. Like I know in the half court that's going to work. What I'm not yet certain of is that outside of their running game, and that I feel confident they're going to get that's going to create some offense. I'm not yet certain what consistently they're going to get in the half court outside of Roddy and Vlad. Do you have a good feel for what they're going to get consistently in the half court outside of those two guys?
Yeah, I do. And before I share, who's the leading scorer on this team this year in your mind?
Roddy Gayle.
Yeah.
Roddy Gayle.
So I think that balance is going to be the key. Here's on bold prediction number 2. Are you writing these down, Sam? Are you writing them-
I'm committing them to memory too. Okay, but
I
I'll jot them down. I'll jot them down.
I
I'll jot
think this year Michigan will have 9 different players that lead the team in scoring for at least one game. And that's I may have to use Will Cheddar in the exhibition game because I'm not really strong on that one, but he's improved a lot too. But I think they're going to rely heavily on balance. Their leading scorer, I think, will be Danny Wolf. Um,
wow.
yeah, I think it's going to be really close. I think Golden and Gale and Wolf will all be like in that 13-14 range. But they're gonna have a lot of balance.
So here's my question about Danny Wolf. I mean, he was dynamic in his debut. I was extremely impressed. And that was one of the big questions coming in. Could you play Danny and Vlad together? And talking to all the coaches, had them all in the summer. And they were kind of talking about it, kind of in practice. They're going to experiment with it to really kind of see. And as they had him in, it feels like it's going to work. Can he guard? Can he guard his position? He's certainly versatile enough on the offensive end. He passes high efficient. I mean, just high IQ passer, right? He could put it on the deck, but can he guard that position as you face more talented, more versatile, more athletic players at that spot? We didn't really get a chance to see that tested against Cleveland State. But do you think as we see better players at the 4 spot that will hold up?
Yeah, there's going to be a couple of guys that Wolf may struggle with, and if you look at their versatility, there was something that kind of struck me yesterday, is that it looks like Vlad Golden is really good in drop coverage, and I immediately thought, okay, he's built like John Teskey, so I think you're going to see that. I think that you're going to see Danny Wolf in pick and roll. Defensively, will do a lot of wide hedging, and Will Cheddar can cover anybody. I think that he'll switch and he can cover guards, he can cover big guys. So there's some versatility there. I'm also a little bit concerned if you're telling Michigan we're going to get out and run, we're going to play with great tempo and speed. I'm not sure you can play as fast as Michigan wants to if you've got 2 7-footers on the court. But I'm very convinced that in Big Ten play, they're going to be able to cover with a big lineup like that. And I do think that the big guys can play together.
Okay, yeah, I like these predictions, Tim. So lead the Big Ten in 3-point shooting. 9 different players on the team lead the team in scoring at some point during the year. Danny Wolf leads the team in scoring. That's 3 bold predictions. Are you done with the bold predictions, Tim?
I'm not really anticipating anything big. But Sam, I have to say, who else really likes Danny Wolf? NBA scouts.
Okay.
They
Well,
like him a lot. He can shoot, he can handle, he can pass. He made a play against Cleveland State. He blocked the shot,
and for
brought
crossing over another end? Yeah.
brought it up the court. He
Cross.
crossed his man and finished with a left over the defense.
Yeah.
That's a pretty unique skill. I'm not saying that he's going after this year. I'm not, but they're watching him closely because he does a lot of the things that they want at the next level.
Yeah, that was an impressive sequence right there. I mean, and he was doing it all. I mean, he had a double-double in the game. But that sequence right there was like, wow. Like, dude, this is as debuts go, you couldn't have asked for a better coming out party than this one if you're Danny Wolf. Maybe the one thing that you would say, like, we gotta hopefully this is an anomaly. He had 5 turnovers in the game.
Yeah.
Like,
No, you're right. You know who else I really like a lot? and he's really one of the only Buckeyes that I've ever liked is Roddy Gayle.
I like
My
Roddy Gayle.
man comes up. He's got a great handshake. He has an infectious smile. Like he makes a conversation, and I think that one of the most missing elements that basketball players have today, and I directly pointed at COVID, is that there are a lot of ball players that struggle in the communication game. They're not very good at asking a question and listening to the answer and then asking a follow-up. And a lot of like the communication, they missed out on a couple of years of socialization, going to a party, hanging with their friends. Roddy Gayle is a really good communicator, and he's the kind of guy that you can see that he's going to be a real leader on this team.
What I like about what I'm excited about for Roddy is I think he's going to have an opportunity on this team to be a much more efficient scorer. He was a volume offensive player at Ohio State. Had to put up a lot of shots and had to take a lot of tough twos.
Mm-hmm.
Like every shot he took there was tough, and be with the talent around him, the floor spacing. I think he's going to get higher quality looks on this team, and so I think his efficiency is going to be much better on this team. I just, and that was something that I talked to him about at media day. Like we were talking about him as a 3-point shooter, and he said, "I'm a better shooter than my numbers say," and I buy that. I don't think that's just talk. He took a lot of tough shots. He's going to get more open looks, and I think, especially from three, and I think you're going to see him show the ability to knock those down, Tim.
Yeah. In September, we talked, and one thing he shared is that at Ohio State, he injured his wrist, and it stuck with him most of the season. And a wrist is a really tough injury because, everything that you do with the ball deals with your hand and your wrist. And you grab a rebound and somebody smacks your hand, and you're dribbling up the court, you're doing practice drills. Like it really is hard to let that heal. And he's 100% healthy now. So I think at some point you're gonna say he's a lot better shooter than I thought. He's a better shooter because he just wasn't 100% last year.
Yeah, but how about the other young man I maybe spent the most time talking to a media day was Trey Donaldson.
Mm-hmm.
And, the book on Trey was pass first. He's a pass first point guard. And he kind of took a little issue with the label. And I said, "Hey man, I'm not trying to don't take it the wrong way. I mean, I'm phrasing it that way as if to say, hey, you're going to get more of an opportunity to show your offensive ability. I'm not saying that you don't have any. I'm just asking, hey, you're going to get an opportunity to show more of your offensive game." He said, "Oh, well, thank you for that." He said, "But I'm I'm a shooter. I was just in a position where I'm doing what my coach was asking me at Auburn. But I'm a shooter. I am a shooter." And I was like, okay. I was like, young fella, you'll get an opportunity to show that. Right. And so his deal is here at Michigan, having an opportunity to be in a wide open attack, where guess what? We're gonna put up a lot more shots, more free flowing, and my coach is telling me, "Go get it, young fella. Go get it, young fella." But hey, I am worried about I'm gonna be setting up my teammates. And you look at his team, you talk about a dude who played with great balance.
Mm-hmm.
Tim, 16 points, 4 for 4 shooting, 7 assists, 0 turnovers. Showed he could shoot it too. He was 2 for 2 from 3-point range. I mean, this dude had an excellent floor game. Excellent floor game.
So I don't think I've ever seen this in a college game. You threw out a lot of stats right there, and you're talking about the Cleveland State game, right?
Yes.
Plus 42 in his plus minus. 42. Okay, have you ever seen that before?
I've never seen that before.
Plus 42. And so Trey is somebody that I'm super excited to watch against Wake Forest for a couple of reasons. Number one, in the practices that I've seen, it seems like he's that guy that is a better game player than he is a practice player. Like when the lights come on, he's going to be really good. I think he leads the team in minutes this year. Uh, when you watch him close, you're going to say, okay, thank you, Dusty, for bringing in some big guards. Okay, I like Frankie Collins. I like Doug McDaniel, Jalen Llewellyn, good guy. Like, I'm tired of these small guards. They've got a bunch of guys that Sharon Moore would say, give me some pads and a helmet, like fat Brooks. That guy could play some football if he wanted to. No doubt. LJ Casey could play football if you needed. Like, these are big, sturdy guys. Trey Donaldson is the same way. And I think he's going to be really, really good. Remember when he was at Auburn, they had a good team. They were deep, and he was splitting minutes. This is his team. This is his show. And I think he's going to be a really strong presence this year.
Yeah, he was splitting time with Aiden Holloway, who was a, all-American guard, the higher rated of the two. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. But he gets a chance to be the guy. He gets a chance for it to be his show, right? And this was a guy who Dusty identified and said, "Hey, I want you to be the guy."
Mm-hmm.
And so that means something. That means something. So it's a great segue, Tim, as we're sort of winding down. We're gonna try to be, a little more buttoned up, a little more succinct with the shows.
Yeah, and thanks for that. Like last time we did this, I'm thinking, Sam, we're approaching an hour. Okay, nobody wants to listen to us for an hour, so thank you for that.
But try to button it up and try to always wrap a recruiting element in the shows as well. So we were talking about Trey Donaldson. We're speeding towards a decision for a young fella who is a favorite of mine because he hails from the city of Flint, my hometown. And I've known his family my entire life, Tim McCormick. His aunt is a dear friend of mine. She is one of my best friends in the world. His aunt Heather Stanley is one of my near dear friends. And her little sister is his mom. But I'm talking about Trey McKenney. His decision is on the horizon. So we go from one Trey, who's on the team, to Trey McKenney, who Dusty hopes is going to be on the team, Tim. And we know this because the first call to a recruit that Dusty May made upon being named coach, Tim, was to Trey McKenney's dad. Did you know that? It was the first call he made.
I didn't know that. How'd you find that out? That's a great scoop.
I talked to his dad, John. John said, hey, it's first call. It's the first call. He's like the very first one. John said, he's like, as I picked up my phone, he said, you're my first call. I had to call you and let you know your son is priority number one. Because this is the top player in the state. Everyone in the country is on him. He's a priority for Tom Izzo, right? You better plant your flag right now and let him know that I want your son here. And that's exactly what Dusty did.
Strong. So I got a chance to be up close and personal with Trey last year in the state playoffs. And he does a lot of things that get me excited. I believe that one of the missing elements that a lot of teams have is that big, strong, physical, get to the lane type of presence with their team. Somebody that can finish in the mid-range game, but also kick out. He's a beautiful shooter. The numbers don't really bear it out now, but I think he's going to be a really good three-point shooter, good leader, no nonsense guy. And I can break things down and bring it from the inside, Sam. I've got a great story. In September, I'm driving down the road on Old Indian Trail. It's on the campus of Orchard Lake St. Mary. And I see this big dude on the side of the road, right on the water, and he's fishing. And I slowed down and I rolled down the window. I said, Trey, is that you? And he just got a big smile on his face. He was bass fishing, Sam, in Orchard Lake. And so not only can he knock down jump shots and play the mid-range game, he can catch a smallmouth bass too. And you know who's going to be really happy about that without question is Will Cheddar, because Will is a huge fisherman too.
Yeah, man. This dude is a super versatile guy. He's always been physically mature. And one of the things I was interested to see about Trey is as he got older and players caught up to him physically, would he still be as dominant?
Mm-hmm.
Would skill still allow him to dominate? Now he's still, I think, bigger and stronger than a lot of guys that he faces, but his skill set, Tim, his ability to, um, run a team, his outstanding jump shooting ability, his ability to post guys up, to set teammates up. He can play it. He's a 3-level scorer. I mean, just he is a tremendous basketball player. You know who he reminds me of?
Who's that?
He is a bigger high school version of Jalen Brunson to me.
I wouldn't have thought. That's a good one. That's a good one. And let me you set me up very well on this, because yesterday before practice, I had a really insightful conversation with Dusty May, and we were talking about recruiting a little bit. And I said, when you watch a recruit play, do you try to determine if he's an early bloomer, has already reached his potential, or a late bloomer, he's got a lot of growth still? And he said, I absolutely do. I'm really interested in those late bloomers. And I think of that with Trey McKenney. Like, his body's big, so you might think he's already added all of his strength. I don't agree with that. I think that with his IQ, with his skill set, he's a late bloomer. He's going to keep getting better and better. So yeah, he would be a great addition for Michigan.
Yeah, he can, again, like I said, I remember watching Jalen in high school. Jalen was physically better, I mean, stronger than a strong body guard. He wasn't explosive. He wasn't quick. He wasn't explosive jumping over guys, but he was skilled. He was crafty. He could shoot. He was strong and
Yeah.
skilled
You
and high
know,
IQ.
you know what they have in common? A strong dad that's not afraid to tell you what you need to do. Like, strong
Yep,
guidance from the top for both of them.
yep, yep. They do have that very much in common.
Rick Brunson was the man, but I think he was really hard on Jalen.
Yeah, very much in common in that way, for sure. Now, Trey is, 6'4", 6'5". He's bigger in that way. And I'm not saying Jalen Brunson is an unbelievable pro. I don't know. I don't know if Trey will get to that level. So I'm talking about high school version. So I want to give this young man time to grow in his game. But if you're looking for a high school player like, man, he gives you, he can he can set his guys up. He can play that setup man. He can play in the post. He is a devastating 3-point shooter. Step back, he can give it to you that way. Catch and shoot, he can give it to you that way. He can put it on the deck. He can play through contact, of course. He can play in the post. Just a super versatile basketball player. He is a team first guy, not a self. You know how you Here's how you know he's a team first guy. Tim McCormick, where does Trey McKenney play his high school basketball?
Orchard Lake St. Mary.
Where did he start off playing his high school basketball?
He was
Orchard Lake
playing.
St. Mary.
Yeah, he's unlike most of the players that they all of a sudden end up down in Florida, or like he likes where he's at. And
And he stayed.
no, that's exactly right. Good
He
call.
stayed. He's
Yeah.
a team first guy. So it would be a big time pickup for Michigan if he commits to the University of Michigan. He will be announcing his decision on 24/7 Sports. It is coming up. I want to put that announcement on the screen. This will be the last thing that we do. So let me see if I can make this happen. I want to share it on the screen for the people. And so let
They
me see
they
if I
could probably use him against Wake Forest and Hunter Salas. That would be a matchup right there.
yeah, if they could pull it off, right? If they could get it, but obviously he's gonna try to he's gonna he's gonna try to get another state championship and make that happen for his high school team. So I'm gonna put this on the screen so the people can see it. But his decision, his announcement is coming up November 9th at 3:30. You'll be able to watch it on YouTube. And let me put this on the screen right now for the people to see it. And it's looking good. I can tell you it's looking good for the Maize and Blue. You got Georgetown, you got USC, uh, and you got Michigan. And the Wolverines have done an outstanding job. A five-star guard, according to 24/7, the 24/7 Sports composite, 6'4", 225 pounds. I mean, the Wolverines, Dusty May, by getting in there and making it clear from day one that he's a priority, Tim. I mean, that was meaningful to do that. That you planted your flag and you were able to box out Izzo. Izzo, who'd been recruiting this guy from day one. Dusty May comes in basically in the spring and is able to get in front of Izzo for the top guy in the state of Michigan, one of the top guys in the country. That's outstanding recruiting right there. Even if he doesn't get him, but I got a crystal ball. My crystal ball says that he's gonna get. I think Dusty May's gonna get his man.
And how nice that Michigan gets back-to-back Mr. Basketballs. There's another prediction for you, okay? Write that one down too.
Yeah,
That's
there you go.
that's not a hard one though, but
Another bold prediction.
hey,
So,
what do you think about Wake Forest this weekend?
uh, you know, it'll be interesting. It's a great test. It's a great test, Tim.
A lot of people don't realize that in the ACC, Duke is number 1, North Carolina is number 2, Wake Forest is number 3. And so this is a really good team. They've got a combo guard named Hunter Salas, and he's going to be a draft pick in next year's draft. Omaha Baloo, I know you saw him at the top 100 camp 2
Uh-huh.
summers ago.
Uh-huh.
Big physical rebounder. He's going to be a tough matchup for Danny Wolf. So there's a lot to like in this matchup. You get a chance, watch it, and we'll break it down next week.
Yeah, you got a bold prediction on that one, Tim. I don't see this is a test game for me. I don't quite know what to make. I think Michigan's gonna be really good, but this is one of those litmus test games for me yet. This is a trial balloon game. I don't know how to call this one at this point.
Yeah. So against Coppin State, Wake Forest scored 64 points and they missed 27 threes. I think they're better than that. I really think there's a good chance that this Michigan team is the kind that they can't wait to get out there. They're going to surprise some people. I think this is a game that Michigan wins.
Okay. All right, Tim, with all kind of bold predictions today. All right, so we got you down, and we got the first episode of the Michigan Basketball Insider in the books. Tim, it's great to be back with you, my guy. I missed you.
I
I
missed
missed
you
my
too.
guy Timmy Mack.
All
Missed
right.
my guy. My big fella is back. My big fella is back. There we go. I appreciate you, Tim, and I appreciate all of you for being back with the Michigan Basketball Insider. We'll see you next week.